Hello guys, in this video I am going to show you how to draw your first network diagram. This is a small chart on network diagrams. Network diagrams in project management are divided into two parts. They are activity on arrow diagram, also known as AOA diagram, and activity on node diagram, also known as AON diagram. So let's go through this using an example of an activity on arrow diagram for the following activities. As the beginning, you should start the project with a simple node, and from that simple node you just go with a simple arrow to highlight the first activity, which has starting node and a finish node. Then we have activity A. Activity A has no predecessors, so it's going to be the first activity in our project. Next, we have activity B, which is the predecessor for it is A. So I can say activity B will go like that. And then we get activity C. The predecessors for it is also only one activity, which is A. So I can have another activity here, which is C, to highlight the relationship. Now we have activity D. The predecessor for it is B. Usually, how I would do it? I would draw just a simple line and highlight activity D in it without having an arrow, because I don't know yet where is activity D heading. The following one would be activity E, and activity E has predecessors of B and C. So if that's the case, I can do the solution by having activity E. If you notice, if I move B to C here, then activity E will be the predecessors of both B and C. Then activity F, the predecessors for it is C. Now activity F also has two predecessors due to this dummy activity. It violates the relationship. But only activity E has these two predecessors. So in this case, I met the requirement, which is E, that predecessors would be C, and this dummy activity shows when C finishes, also it finishes here. However, if we look at the last activity, which is F, the predecessors of F is C. So if I have activity F going out from here, then that will be okay for F, because once C finishes, F will start. However, I'm starting with the same node where it says B also finishes. So how I solve that? Here I would use another dummy activity. Activity E has two predecessors, which is B and C. So if we have E going like that, it will meet the requirements of the two predecessors of B and C. Then F. If we took it out from here, then that will be satisfy our relationship between F and C without violating any relationship in our schedule. And that's the end of our all the activities. So the activity D, E and F would be the last three activities in the project. Then I can connect them by one node like that. And you always link all the last activities to a one last node to highlight the end of the project. After it finishes, what you need to do is number in the diagram. So number in the nodes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like that. So that would be our schedule. Alright, you already know how to draw an AOA diagram. Now let's move on to a simple example of AON diagram. AON diagram is basically just a flow chart that represents the project drawing which activities leads into the other activities. So we have this project here has 8 activities. Let's draw step by step. In the logic here, we know that A happens at the very beginning of the project because there's no predecessor. And then activity B and C can only start once activity A is done. B can start once A is done. Once A is done, we can go ahead and complete activities B, C and D. So once D is done, that leads into activity E. After that, F happens once both B and C activities are done. We already complete these predecessors, so you have to draw next arrows like this. In the same way, we can complete activity G, which has two predecessors E and F. Finally, activity G is done, then we can complete the last activity H. Here is our complete activity on node diagram. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe my channel and see you in the next video.